focus on all these cameras.
No, I totally agree that it should be in focus. I support that.
That's a full focus.
And if you have any other technical questions like that, just feel free to
Thanks,
ask
Pierce.
me.
I'll look around at one of my band members and I'll say, "What are you doing?" He said, "Tuning." I said, "When did you start that?"
I like that one.
Or why start now?
Now it's really quiet. All right. Okay, three cameras are rolling.
Okay.
Just gonna get a time code.
Okay.
Is the transcript audio rolling?
Hold on 1 second. Let me listen here. Hold on. Yep.
I'm gonna put this in front of
Yeah,
your nose.
Okay.
rolling.
Okay. That's our little slate. And this is the beginning of our transcript audio for Reba McEntire. Time code is 9:48, 45, 46, 47. Marker.
Slick.
Okay, great. So let's start by talking about the tour. So
Okay.
what made you decide to do it?
Can I just say one thing? The
Yes.
chair, when she moves,
Uh-huh.
we'll hear it.
Well, that's a problem because I don't think she should be asked to sit.
Yeah,
Get a
I
chair that doesn't
probably
sit.
won't.
No, I'm glad you
Give us a
caught
test.
it.
Okay.
This sounds like a winner.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah.
Well, wait a second.
It's not as padded.
I have some, why does it?
Don't try that. Another one?
Yeah.
Just swap me.
This one actually has a cushion, and
Yeah.
I've been sitting in it. and it
Okay,
doesn't make
let's
any noise.
move that one, take that one.
Better one to sit.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
it's funny the things you have to do. I wear tennis shoes that have to squeak.
Okay. Let's.
I know it's not cushion, but it doesn't make any noise.
Just make pauses there. No, it's a quiet one.
Okay. This one wins.
It's the winner of the contest.
We got it.
Yep, you got it? Good. I just want to double check that your mic is not getting in the way.
Get it set down on it.
This will all be
Perfect.
transcribed.
All right, you good?
Perfect.
Squeaky chair.
If you want to do boom tone now or later, it's up to you.
Let's get on the end.
Get it at the end?
That's it.
Sounds good.
Okay, all three cameras are good.
So, yeah, so what made you decide to do the tour?
Well, we wanted to tour this year because we had had it ready in January of 2020. And we were ready to go. And we were in rehearsals all the way up to March when we were just finalizing everything. And then COVID hit. I was in Oklahoma with my mama. She was just about to pass away, and she did on the 15th. And then that's when everything was just exploding with COVID. And so we didn't get to tour. We didn't even get to have a funeral for Mama. We did bury her 2 weeks later, but times were sure changing and things were just in an uproar. And so we kept thinking, well, maybe next month. We'll just keep. And 2 years later, we got to go in January of 2022. And we were so excited. The fans and the crowds were so enthusiastic. They were craving live music. You know, they had pacified themselves with music from the radio or the record player or however they were getting their music. But to see live music, it was an explosion. The crowds were enormous, generous, giving, and it made us want to give more and to give our best shows every night. And I think we did. We had a blast.
Was it hard, like, because you had like this interval of not touring, was it hard to get back into it, or was it just like, it's back, right back at you?
It's kind of like riding a horse, riding a bicycle. You know exactly how to do it, and once you step on stage, it all comes back to you. And it wasn't hard at all. We just had a blast.
It's great. I used to get nervous before you went on stage, right?
Oh, early on, yeah. Anymore, it's anticipation. You know, the only thing I get nervous about is if I have a new pair of shoes, new outfit, not really, not knowing how everything's going to move and work. But I'm really anxious to get out on the stage.
One thing that's really great is that your audience always seems to be growing. There's like more young people all the time. I'm wondering if like, and that TikTok thing was amazing. Like, how did that TikTok thing come about?
We got somebody back. Can y'all hear that?
No, you're fine for now.
Okay, all right. Well, the TikTok thing was very interesting because in our music, at our concerts, we have people from ages 2 to 92 at our concerts. So it's funny when people will walk up to me and said, well, we knew you were an actress because of the Reba TV show, but we didn't know you sang. And then mothers will bring their kids to the concerts and say, she sings too. No, she doesn't, Mama. She doesn't. She's just Reba. So to see everybody's interpretation of I'm a Survivor on TikTok was so much fun. I even got into it. Rex Lynn, my boyfriend, decided it would be a good idea to get our 2 donkeys, Poncho and Lefty, in on it. So I was supposed to bring 2 buckets over to the fence to feed the donkeys. I get there and I set the buckets down. They turned their butts to me. It was a huge hit. You know, you can advertise all you want to, but you put something goofy like 2 donkeys and Reba in a TikTok skit, it'll go viral.
It's so hard to direct donkeys.
It is hard to direct donkeys.
I'm actually curious about the donkeys. What are, like, can you tell me about the donkeys? What are they like?
I bought a place in Tennessee, a farm, and the donkeys came with it. I think they were getting a little old. They were 10 years old when I bought it. And I think the owners knew that they needed to stay where they were acclimated and accustomed to. At the first, they were called Pee Wee and Wee Pee. We couldn't tell them apart. I didn't remember which one was Pee Wee or Wee Pee, so I changed it to Poncho and Lefty.
That made it easier to tell them apart?
Yeah.
So you're singing your greatest hits on this tour, and these are the songs that were on your album, Revised, Remixed, and Revisited, right? Where you kind of like reimagined these things that were kind of iconic songs that people thought of a certain way, but like you reimagined them and like made them like live again in another way, which is, I thought was kind of really unusual, and people don't do that. It's kind of extraordinary.
Thank you.
And I'm just wondering, what made you decide to do that? Where'd you get that? What was that? Where'd you get that?
Well, Remixed, Revised, Revisited, I got to say, honestly, was not my idea. That was Universal, the music group, and Justin McIntosh, who works with me. They all were collaborating on a new way of presenting my music. Right now, it's really interesting that catalog music is outselling new music. And so people want to revisit their past. They want familiarity. They want to sing along with songs that they've heard since they were kids or whenever. Music is like smells. You know, I can smell a perfume and that's the perfume my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Kaysen, wore. It just takes you back. And I think that's what everybody's wanting nowadays. So what we decided to do was take my songs, take 10 songs, remix them, revitalize them, and a dance mix, one with my band, the way we perform them on stage, and then one Dave Cobb put together 10 songs, like stripped down, less production, very simple. And I just loved them. I love the 3 varieties,
It's great.
3 versions.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Thank you.
So as you were, so in addition to singing, your gigantic singing career and your big acting career, you also have like this big business that you run. What does it, like your business, it's like an empire really, like what does it include?
Well, it's a little bitty empire. Teeny. Well, I've got my Reba clothing line, and then we have a boot line that has also shoes in it with Justin boots. I've always wanted to wear boots. I like it. I feel stable and secure in it. I think it goes back from playing basketball with the Converse high-top tennis shoes. I like security, and I'll wear boots all year long. I have over 100 pair, and I just like to wear them. They're comfortable for me. I wear my Reba clothes. I love them, and they're sold at Dillard's. It's a family-operated department store that I love to shop in. I have ever since I moved to Nashville, not in Oklahoma, because back then we didn't get to travel that far or get new clothes or things until I got out in college. So Dillard's is a great team and a great department store to team up with. I love that.
So the boots and the clothing line are the businesses you're running.
Uh-huh.
And the clothing line, I know we visited yesterday, so we want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
How involved are you in how things look?
When we first started the clothing line, I guess 18 years ago, they came to me and they showed me these big boards of clothes, and I sat there for 2 hours and looked at it and listened, and they said, "What do you think?" I said, "I wouldn't wear any of that, so I wouldn't want my name on it." And they went, "Oh, well." I didn't do it.
Is that going to be a problem?
We can talk over that, can't we?
She's got like a big, she can get quite,
Yeah, I get loud.
loud.
In the background, and then that will work.
Yeah, right, we'll just put music under it.
It's got a good beat.
Is it like an air raid shelter or something?
Right. Should we be concerned? Do we need to run?
Yeah. What is it? Drop, roll,
And we all
something or
agree
other?
that it's like women and children first, right? No
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No children. Come on, girls.
Today I'm a woman then. Come on, girl.
Oh my gosh, a new one. Hope you're filming this.
Oh. Sounds like,
This has been a test.
Emergency broadcast.
I know that's what it does sound like, which,
There are no people down there. All doors are shut.
Ghost.
Did they turn the alarm on with us in here?
Where are they? Did you call them on the phone, see where they are?
I can call Jack.
Please call Jack. Thank you.
You want some water?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
somebody from this.
Can we stop rolling or just keep
Well,
rolling?
let's just keep going until the next time we're rudely interrupted by the
Yeah.
ear-shattering alarm. All right, so you were saying, I think you got up to the part.
We're continuing.
Yeah, you hear her in your background.
Leslie, we're continuing.
Okay. So you were up to the part where you were saying. No, I guess not.
Okay, guys, camera's rolling. Camera's rolling.
Okay.
They can't talk, 'cause I can hear it.
They were just testing.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Feel
We
safe.
do it at my house all the time.
So hopefully, excuse me.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Oh, so sorry.
Okay, camera still rolls.
You were up to the part where you said, I wouldn't put my name on any of this.
Yeah, okay. And so they said, well, what can we do? I said, why don't we do this? I will go home, and then I will start doing tear sheets from catalogs, magazines, and find things that I like, and I'll get them to you. And they kind of looked at me like, yeah, sure you will. And because we were shooting the Reba TV show during that time. And I don't know how long it was after that. I had a pretty good stack of pages that I had circled and said why I liked it. And then a couple of months later, they came back with a new presentation, and I said, I'll do it.
And do you still check in on them now and like make sure that everything is to your liking?
Well, after you've been with the same people, Josephine's wonderful. She has a great sensibility of business, and she's fair, and she's a hard worker. So what she would do when I first started with her, I would come in and they would have these huge sheets of paper with a piece of fabric on it. And I'd look at that for 2 hours and try to find the prints I like and the material that I liked. Well, the fabric particles would be in the air and my eyes would just be killing me. I'd have to pick out buttons and then silhouettes and then colors. So after a few years, we decided that we know each other well enough that she started making them up, and then I would come up to New York and we'd look at the samples on models. And so then we've gotten to where now I can just walk in the showroom, or she brings the clothes to me wherever I am. We hang them up, we look at them, and I say, I don't like that, I don't like that, or I love this. And we're getting now like 100% winners.
That's great.
Bless you.
You said that when you started, country music was a man's world. So how is it a man's world?
When I got started, country music was a man's world. Now, can you imagine how it was for Loretta, Tammy, Dolly, Barbara, Patsy? We have more freedom today. And for me, thankfully, all that came from men. My producers, my managers, record label heads, amazing how they taught me. They would be patient with me. And I would say, I would like to try it this way. And they go, let's try it. And some would go, no, we don't do it that way. And so I'd bide my time. And when I could, I did it my way. And it worked out real well. But you have to prove yourself. You can't just walk in bitching, moaning, and saying, I want it this way. You have to wait. Timing is everything. And you pick your battles, and you walk in with a better idea and say, hey, what do y'all think about? And if they don't go for it, wait till somebody else walks in and says, are you ready? And I say, yeah, how about we do it this way? And they'll, wow, that's a great idea. You got to be patient. But I guess I can be patient. I've been in this business since 76 professionally, or 75. So it just takes a while to learn. Oh my gosh, I knew absolutely nothing about the music business. I came from a ranch and rodeo family. I rodeoed. I got my elementary education degree. I was going to teach second grade. And then when I was singing the national anthem at the National Finals Rodeo in Oklahoma City in 1974, it had been my brother Pake, my little sister Susie, and me as the singing McIntyres. Well, we went to a party after the rodeo where I was singing the national anthem to 9,000 people a night for 10 performances. And a gentleman by the name of Red Stegall heard me. And then we went to a Justin Boot party in the Hilton Hotel after one of the performances, and Red was there. He had heard me sing the anthem, and he said, what a beautiful voice. And I sang a couple of songs with him, as Peyton, Susie, and I did. And he asked Mama, would Reba be interested in pursuing her career? And Mama said, well, all three of them are. He said, well, I can't take all three of them. I could take one. And Pake was into ranching and rodeoing, and Susie was still in college, and Mama said, Reba will do it. And I did. And we went to Nashville, and I sang a lot of demo tapes that Red Stegall and Glenn Sutton had written. And 11 months later, October of 75, I had a contract with Polygram Mercury Records.
Wow, that's great.
And after that, it was just little bitty steps, little bitty steps. My first single came out in June of 76, and I didn't get a #1 record till 83. So it took a while. Nowadays, they'd say, well, go find another career. They don't give you that time. And I got a great education, and I have so many people to thank.
I read when you did you had this demo, and they had to take the demo around to people, and it took a while, and then it went to this executive, and he had like your demo. Can you tell that story?
Yeah. When we got through doing the demonstration tape that Red and Glenn had of the songs he had written, they didn't get any interest at all. And so they started pitching the songs. And it went to a guy named Glenn Keener at Polygram Mercury Records. And he didn't care for the song, but he liked my singing. So they went up to their head meeting, I think it was in Chicago, and they said, Glenn, you can sign one female singer. I think they called us girl singers back then. You could sign one girl singer. And he had my tape cassette and another girl's cassette tape. And he went, let's go with Reba McEntire. And I never did find out who that other girl was. But I hope she's happy as she can be.
That's it's so amazing. I love that story. Like you could only have one girl singer.
Yeah.
And it was like, this.
Thank the Lord, he said mine. I was just thrilled to death with that. You know, I didn't learn that story until years later. So it was, it's a great one to know.
You spent a lot of time in honky tonks, right? So it's not exactly like people are sitting there in hushed silence waiting.
Oh no, your background noise.
What was that? What was it like singing there?
Well, it was fun. Mom and Daddy would drive us over. We'd sing at the W.H. Crowell in Sulphur, Oklahoma, and Ken Lance's Sports Arena in Ada, Oklahoma. And, I mean, there was Mom and Daddy sitting right there. It's a big dance hall. And the bandstand's here, and everybody'd sit around and get up and dance, and you danced in an oval. And Mama and all their buddies were there. It was a family atmosphere, not a lot of young kids. We were the youngest ones in there. And it was bring your own bottle. So it was fun. It was a great education for us. And also in junior high and high school at Kiowa, Oklahoma, Mama was the secretary to the superintendent. And she and Clark Ryan, who was our Oklahoma history teacher, art teacher, they decided to put together a little country music band. I had 18 people in my graduating class, so it was a very small school. Average class was 36 people. So we didn't have a marching band or a choir or choral chorale or anything like that. So they said, let's have a little country music band. And sure enough, we had enough people interested to want to be in the band. Matter of fact, Roger Wills who was our bass player, he is now Alan Jackson's band leader. So we've all had great careers in the music business because of Mama and Clark Ryan putting together the little Kiowa Cowboy High School band.
I love the name of that. It's so
Isn't
great.
that cute?
Yeah, it's so great. Well, you were also, but even after you had your record out, you were, even after you were making records, you were still doing, you were in honky tonks, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. There weren't any big tours for me. I mean, I was playing bars, rodeos, just anywhere I could, county fairs. And then after a while, it got a little bit better. I got a #1 record, and the 80s were really, really good to me. I started winning awards, so the jobs got better. We went from playing county fairs 2 shows a day to coming up to the state fairs and then playing Vegas and opening shows for wonderful artists. I think probably one of the biggest breaks was Susie, my little sister, was singing harmony with me, and we were playing clubs, and I'm terribly allergic to dust and smoke. And my eyes would burn so bad from the smoke and the dust from them dancing on the floor that Susie, one night we were in Amarillo, Texas, and we were staying in a motel. Susie's in her bed and I was on my bed, and she said, "Are you asleep yet?" And I said, "I'm afraid to close my eyes." And when I did, it burned so bad in the tears. So the next day I called and I said, "That's it, no more clubs." And they said, my ex-husband, who was kind of approving my dates with my manager, he said, "Well, your career's over because you'll probably never get another job." And I said, it wouldn't matter because I won't have a voice. And not too long after that, the Statler brothers, Barbara Mandrell, took off on her own because she was the opening act, and they said, "We need a new girl singer to open our show." And they said, "Would you be interested?" And I said, "Thank you, God." So if you don't stand up for yourself, it's your own fault.
Wow, that's amazing.
Just hold just one second. You okay with that? I think a freezer came on or something.
Oh, yeah, I hear that.
Not that bad. I mean, I don't know. My voice is very prominent. could get some tone in it, just for precaution. Just a little quiet for a second.
Just 15 seconds of root tone starting now. Good. Great. Thanks, everybody.
So, tell that wonderful story about going to fanfare and you're sitting there with your Sharpie with, yeah.
Well, I'm going to back it up just a little bit. Mama and I went down to Fort Worth for the Cowtown Pickin' Party. It was in the down there on the by the stockyards, and there was quite a few artists, and I didn't have a band of my own, and so I asked my booking agent. I said, "Well, who am I going to work with? Is Red Stegall going to be there?" No. Well, is Jackie Ward going to be there? No. I said, "Okay, well, who's the band?" "Oh, there's a band they're going to, you get there an hour early and run through some songs and they'll be your band." I said, "Okay." Well, we got there and that band had left. So another band said they'd back me. And I said, "Okay, do you know this one?" "No." "Do you know this one?" "No." "You know this one?" "No." "You know this one?" "Yeah." "Do you know this one?" "Yeah." "You know this one?" "Yeah." 3 songs. I had to play 30 minutes. Well, 3 songs don't cover 30 minutes. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I can do them twice. That still don't cover 30 minutes. So I got up there, and John Conley, rose-colored glasses, he was the headline. So I got up there, and I started doing my songs, and, oh, golly, about 3 songs, and started telling jokes. I'm not a good joke teller. Well, they started booing me off stage. "Bring on John Conley, get off the stage." So I got off the stage, and a guy from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram was there to interview me. And he said, "So, what are you going to do, quit?" And I said, "Quit?" Mama was sitting beside me. She was madder than a little wet banny hen. She was going to whoop somebody. I knew she was, because she didn't like anybody treating her daughter like that, and everybody booing me off stage. And so I said, "No, I'm not going to quit. Mama and I are going to fanfare in Nashville, and we're going to find me a band. And I'm not going to play another gig until I do get a band, unless it's with Red Stegall's band or Jackie Ward's." He said, "Well, good for you." So we went to Nashville, and fanfare is a full week in June every year in Nashville. At that time, we were out at the fairgrounds. And all the record labels set up the booths for the new artist, and the established artists have better booths. And they'll put on concerts free to the fans. I think there's a fee now. So Mama and I were sitting there, and it was in the middle of the day, and I had my pictures, my little 8x10 glossies in my Sharpie, and I was ready. And this man and woman was walking by, and they walked back by, and they looked up above me where it said Reba McEntire, and Mama said, "Get ready, here they come." I got my pen ready. I said, "Can I help you?" She said, "Do you know where the bathroom is?" That away. Mom said, "That's all right. That's all right."
That's so funny. How long were you sitting there before anybody came up to you at all?
Oh, hour or two. You know, you probably had a couple of hours to be there the whole day. It seemed like forever. And, you know, they kind of straggled in, straggled out.
So nobody came until that. So I think, so nobody, you were sitting there for like a long time before anybody came at all.
Yeah.
Could you just explain that part?
Yeah.
I left it out.
I had probably been sitting there probably 20 minutes, you know, waiting for the crowd to come in and me get busy. And finally a man and woman walked up and asked me where the bathroom was. So it was a long day.
It's great. So at a certain point you start getting, in the 80s, you start getting hits, and a lot of people would have said, you know, this is working, like I'll just keep doing this, but you didn't. You switched labels. How come?
Well, in 1984, I switched labels from Polygram Mercury to MCA. I just thought it would shake things up and get a new perspective. And I talked to Jerry Kennedy. He was my producer at Polygram Mercury Record, and Jerry and I were very close and had a great understanding of what I liked and the way I wanted to work was the way he worked because he was the boss, and I was just following along with what he had for me to do. And I thought it was time. And so Bill Carter was my manager, and no, I'm sorry, Don Williams was my manager, Andy Williams' brother, and he thought it would be a good time to go over to MCA Records. And Bill Carter was the lawyer that drew up the papers and everything. And things started working great. And then, just as soon as we signed the contract, Jimmy Bowen came into town and took over MCA Records. And Jimmy was pretty famous of cleaning house and bringing in his team and doing it his way. And I heard later that Irving Azoff, the famous manager, told Jimmy, no, you will not drop Reba McEntire. So I owe a lot of my career to Irving Azoff. And then Jimmy Bowen taught me an awful lot. Jimmy Bowen was the one that I went to and I said, I don't like the music, the songs that the producers are bringing to me to perform and sing and record. He said, well, woman, if you don't like that, go find your own songs. I said, how do you do that? He said, well, I'm going to get Don Lanier here, my right-hand man. He'll go with you and he'll take you around to publishing companies. So Don and I would go to publishing companies, sit there and listen to the songs that they would let us listen to. And we'd go, well, I'm going to pass on that, or I'll take that one. And we were sitting there one day and we heard a song called Whoever's in New England. And I looked over at Don, and his nickname was Dirt. And he wore a ball cap all the time. And I looked over at him, his eyebrows disappeared. He was like, oh yeah, that's a good one. And I got chills. And so that was the song that was my album title of my first gold album. And that was in 1984. So things just kind of started going, got the wheel turning. And then I won Female Vocalist of the Year from 84 to 87, Entertainer of the Year. And so it had a good kickstart.
So when you won Entertainer of the Year in 1986, you got some advice because that now is like, it's a big deal. Like, it's like some people say, okay, that's like now you're at you are at the top. And you got some advice to slow down, which you didn't take. Can you tell me about that?
Well, it was fun in 1987 when I won, is that what you had, 87 or 86? Well, I thought it was 87. Whenever I won Female Vocalist of the Year and Entertainer of the Year, my husband at the time, Charlie Battles, had won 3 times the all-around, the world champion steer rush. Oh, God.
Want to start over?
Yes, I will. Let me find where I can. After I'd won those 2 very prestigious awards in my books, Charlie Battles, my husband at the time, who had won the world championship in steer wrestling, he said, why don't we slow down now? You've done it. And I said, what do you mean, slow down? He said, let's just sit on the back porch and watch the sun go down. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't think so. So we divorced in 87. It'd been kind of bad for a few years anyway, I hate to say. But I divorced and I moved to Nashville. And Bill Carter was my manager at that time. And then in 88, Narvel Blackstock became my manager. And it just got bigger and bigger, and our shows in the 90s were huge. We had the stage running from one end of the arena floor to the other, and we had more lights than Michael Jackson or Madonna, and it was a huge production, and we loved it.
So that was really groundbreaking and innovative. Nobody, to do those big shows, those theatrical shows with all the lighting and the costume changes, and that was really groundbreaking in country. And what made you want to do that?
I love razzle dazzle. I love glitter. I love fringe. I love bigger's better. I like to be entertained, and I wanted to entertain. And so the sky was the limit. And we had a lot of people, very creative, that wanted to make it as big as I did. And Narvel was always the thinker-upper, and I was the doer. And so we found people who would put these shows together for us, and we went and did them. It was 15 clothes changes in one concert. Sandy Spica made the clothes for me. She dressed me. She did my hair. She did for the 10 dancers. It was quite the spectacle. We had a blast.
So these decisions to like, you know, like the decision to like to push and find your own songs and to change labels although you're doing well, and the decision to, you know, not to do honky tonks, but to, because it's just, or not do the bars and the honky tonks because it was bothering you, it was hurting you like physically, and the decision to like go really big, like you're doing fine, you're doing really great, you're at the top, but you want to do more. Like these decisions, are there risks? Did you have like, were there risks involved that you? I'm curious about that. What were the risks?
Oh, I'm sure there were a lot of risks. Nobody would hire you. You know, if I quit the clubs, maybe nobody would. But I was willing to take that chance because I didn't like to go to the clubs and hurt. I wanted to have fun up on stage. So every time that we made a big change, it worked. It was the gut feeling. And I always think my gut feeling is my message from God saying, you got to do something different. Come on, let's shake it up a little bit.
And when you decided to go really big on the big gigantic big tours with all the costume changes and like, was there a risk involved with that?
Oh yeah, you wouldn't make any money. That was the biggest risk because you put so much into costumes and stage production, lighting, sound, all the bells and whistles, more people on stage, 10 more dancers in addition to 10 band members, and then you had more buses, more trucks. We had 21 trucks for several years. That's a lot of equipment. I mean, I came out in a small plane, a Hawker plane that was like my plane that I flew in. And we came out on the runway down in the middle of the arena, and I got out and ripped off one outfit and went into another dance number. So yeah, it was pretty razzle-dazzle.
That's amazing. I have to find footage of that. That is like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You said when, and it seems to me like a really big risk because that's so much, okay, like that's a lot of money you invest. If that doesn't work, you're like.
Yeah, you didn't make much money when you have a tour like that. But the idea, even starting in the 80s, was to make you look bigger than you really are.
What do you mean?
Well, you put on a big show, maybe people, you know, I didn't know Reba McEntire was that big. Let's go see our show. Oh my gosh, she is. And things just kind of, it's like the ripple effect. You throw a pebble in the pond and it just started growing, and then you get more offers, and we started doing movies, and it's just one thing leads to the other.
It's a really smart strategic way to run your career.
I think it was just ignorance is bliss. It's just taking a chance and having fun.
You said that when you were on the road, you used to compare your concert grosses to what other people were doing. And are you like really competitive?
Oh, heck yeah, I'm very competitive. I always have been. Well, I came from a rodeo cowboy. Daddy won the world 3 times, 57, 58, and 61 in the steer roping. Then I married a world champion bulldogger, and Alice was runner-up in the championship in barrel racing, and pake roping. My cousins, Pake won a lot. I didn't win very much rodeoing. I competed for 10 years from 11 till I was 21, and the music came on, thank the Lord, and I could finally do something that I was meant to do. I was meant to be on this earth to sing. I know I was. And to entertain and to have fun with it and to make other people feel better.
So that competitive urge is to like you wanted to like beat other people,
Yeah.
not hurt them, but to
No,
like,
I wanted to win. I wanted to do better. When I won the Female Vocalist of the Year, I wanted to win it again. Not only at the CMA, but the ACMs. And anything that they had a competition for, I wanted to win. It wasn't devious or malicious. I'm a fun competitor. I just want to win.
usually do.
swap the battery if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, because I wanted to read,
Should we stop?
yeah, for a second. Maybe turn on the air conditioner.
It really does, thankfully fast.
If we had to, we could do it.
What?
That noise,
You
I
know,
don't
why
know
don't
what that
people
is.
bring fans to shoots? Because this
Somebody's
always happens, it always gets really hot for the person who's under the lights. Why don't people bring like, and people turn on the air when they can, but they could also bring like a fan.
Yeah.
Right? And just plug it in with a low-tech extension cord and you could be getting like air
On set for the TV show, almost everybody has their
personal.
fans because we're outside and it's blazing hot during the day, and then it's
Didn't think about it for here.
they literally will sit with it like we have such a great department. They offer up, you know, this from Nashville, so it's like I can like carry so much stuff, you know. So but they all have like fans.
Right.
Saves us so many times because it was blazing and Reba would be dressed like this out in the sun.
Yeah. And they're battery operated and they're just real small.
Right. Well, I think I'm gonna start taking them to shoots, because I don't know why I never thought of it, because it comes
Yeah.
up all the time.
And now they've got those neck bands. Have you seen those? Just they
It's
just
like someone's got headphones.
Yeah.
But it blows air,
yeah.
so you just wear it around your neck. So
Oh, wow.
you got
I've got 2 at home.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's,
Do I have them with me? Absolutely not.
Well, I never have a fan. Every fan I bought, I leave on set and I never see again.
Mhm.
So I'm just at the point where I'm like, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
Harry, you ready?
Okay,
Yes.
all 3 cameras are rolling. It's gonna re-slate.
Okay.
Your nose, sorry about this.
Oh, good.
Okay, and for the transcript, 10:32.
Wait, hold on, I'm not on yet. I'm now on, go ahead.
Okay, this is the second part of our transcript. Time code is 10:32. Sorry, 10:32, 42, 43, 44, and marker. Okay, all 3 cameras are rolling.
let's talk a little bit about some of your songs.
Okay.
So, Somebody Should Leave. You found that song yourself, and tell me about that.
When Bill Carter was my manager, he thought it'd be a good idea, as Jimmy Bowen had suggested, for me to go to the publishing companies and find my own songs. He said, why don't we go to some of the hit makers, some of the really famous, popular songwriters? Well, Harlan Howard was that person. Harlan Howard had written songs for Patsy Cline, Buck Owens, many other artists. Very famous songwriter. Funny story about Harlan. Everybody loved it when Harlan and his significant other broke up. He was devastated. He wrote the best songs. If he fell in love, everybody went, oh, Harlan, Dad, blame it. Because that means he was happy, wasn't going to write those great songs. Well, anyway, back to our story. Bill Carter arranged for me to go over to Harlan Howard's house and listen to some songs. So Harlan set me in his living room in a beautiful leather wingback chair and had the reel-to-reel tape sitting there. And he said, you ready? I said, I sure am. I'm so excited. So he hit the tape and I went. He stopped it. He said, what do you think? I said, that's great. I'm going to pass on that one. He's okay. I thought, oh, thank God he didn't kick me out of the house. Played the next one. Still didn't like it. I thought, well, shoot. Maybe he's not writing those songs anymore. I don't know what's going on. He stopped it and he said, what do you think? I said, Mr. Howard, I'm going to pass on that one too. He said, okay, I got another one for you. I said, thank you. Thank you, Jesus. He started playing Somebody Should Leave. I couldn't believe it, that he was playing that song for me. It was one of the greatest, saddest country songs I'd ever heard in my life. And he stopped it and he said, what do you think? I said, can I have that one? He said, you sure can. And I've always thought, people have argued with me, that if I'd have taken either one of those first 2 songs, he wouldn't have played the third one for me. He was testing me. And I'm so glad I stuck with my gut and said no and passed on the first 2.
Why was he testing you?
Those are their babies. I mean, they have those from conception until there are no more. And so he didn't want somebody who didn't know a good song to have it. He wanted somebody to have it that would protect it.
Well, good hands.
Well, thank you.
Was this part of also your desire to have a more country sound at the time?
It was. It sure was. Harold Shedd was my producer when Jimmy Bowen came on the scene with MCA Records. And Harold Shedd is a tremendous producer. Worked with Alabama, got him through their heyday, and I was thrilled to death to get to work with Harold. Well, it was at a time in country music where it was in the more contemporary phase, not the more traditional, and I wanted to be in the traditional side. And so I was really tired of the symphonies coming in, and I wanted a fiddle. I wanted a steel guitar. And the songs weren't exactly what I wanted. So I went to Bowen and I said that exact same thing, and that's when he told me to go find my own songs. So I brought my songs back to Harold, and we started recording more country songs. So everybody was happy.
Yeah, everybody was. Did you have to fight? Never mind. Then whoever's in New England, I love that. So it was about a woman who suspects her husband of two-timing her.
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought was really interesting is that, so it's like country because she's like, there's a guy cheating on a gal, that's like a theme, but she also has like a lot of dignity. A woman has a lot of dignity, and she kind of triumphs in the end. So it's like, I love Patsy Cline to pieces, but it's different than Patsy Cline.
Yeah.
And I think that's something different. So I think it's really interesting that I wanted to ask you about how you saw that.
Well, yeah, he was cheating on her. Absolutely. And she said, when whoever's in New England's through with you, come on home. And I'm like, what woman would say that? But it was a hit. Different way of thinking about it, huh?
What did you think when you, she talked about that before, so that's fine. Okay, so now let's talk about Fancy. That's like, it almost didn't happen. How is that?
Okay, that's a really good story I love to tell. Fancy has always been my favorite song. 1968, Bobby Gentry wrote it, recorded it, and had a huge hit with it. The next year, In the Ghetto came out. Mac Davis had written that for Elvis Presley. So that was, great songs in that era. So when I would be playing clubs, rodeos, I'd want to do Fancy. And the crowd would go, we can't dance to that. And I said, well, sit down, shut up, because I want to sing it. So when Jimmy Bowen was producing me, he said, are there any old songs you'd like to do a remake on? I said, yeah, Fancy. He said, oh, now, woman, you don't need to be singing about a prostitute. Oh, okay, all right. So in 1990, after I'd had Shelby, February of 90, I went into the studio with Tony Brown. Tony Brown was, at one time, a piano player for Elvis Presley. So we were recording, having a really good time, and Tony asked me the same question. Are there any other songs that you'd like to do that do a remake on? And I said, Fancy? He goes, oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. I said, so we can do it? He said, absolutely. So we did it, and that became my signature song. A lot of people don't even know that Bobby Gentry had a huge hit of it in the 60s. So I'm very proud of that, but I'm going to give her all the credit. So that song was released as a single because it's so long, it never made it to #1 in the charts, but it's my most popular song.
And why did Fancy speak to you? What did you connect to in the song?
I love rags to riches stories, Cinderella, Annie Oakley, Fancy. I mean, she was put out to prostitution by her mother because her mother could not feed them. The baby went to the county, got adopted out. Mama died. Daddy ran off. So that's all her mother knew to do was to prostitute her daughter out. And she became a very famous person. I see Fancy now as, she became a very successful madam, had a nice business, and I had a feeling that she went back and found her little sister.
It's also a song about a strong woman, a woman who triumphs over, circumstances and adversity. Is that part of what spoke to you about it?
Oh, definitely. Rags to riches, strong women, making do with what you have, but overcoming all the adversities and the hardships in her life. She's a very strong woman.
And I'm thinking about, because that seems like a theme that comes up in a lot of your songs, is like a woman, a strong woman who faces adversity and finds the strength inside herself to survive,
Yeah.
to triumph.
I'm a survivor, yeah.
So, like I'm thinking about that movie you made, I know this isn't a song, but I'm thinking about that movie you made, Is There Life Out There, which had some of those themes. That movie, which was like really resonated with women. Just tell me about that, what it was about and the reaction, why you wanted to do it and the reaction people had to it.
First time I ever heard Is There Life Out There, I was driving down the road going into Nashville from the house. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, my cousin Tricia Ann can relate to that. Alice could relate to that. Susie, me. I could relate to that. And then I got to thinking, so many people, male or female, can relate to where they are in their life. Is there life out there? Is there something more? She's done what she should. Should she do what she dares? She doesn't want to leave. She's just wondering, is there life out there? I'm sure everybody's been in that situation one or two times in their life. And so that's when I wanted to record it. And then when CBS was doing the movie of the week with me, they did several on me. That was the one that they really wanted to hone in on because it was such a great story. And we were trying to find the leading man for this. And we couldn't think of it. And I was in San Francisco touring, and I called the director the next morning because the night before I'd seen Huey Lewis on one of the night shows. And I called him the next morning and I said, I know who it is. I know who's gonna be in the video because we did the video first. I said, this is gonna be the video star right here. He said, never mind, I've already got him. I said, who is it? He said, Huey Lewis. So Huey was in the video with me, and then later on we went on to do the movie.
How did women react to that song?
They loved it. People would stand up in the audience holding their diploma because they had gotten their children raised and gone back to college and gotten their degree.
It must have been really gratifying.
Oh, I'd cry. It was so amazing how powerful music is.
That it like really spoke to those people and it moved them to actually change their lives. That's kind of really remarkable. There isn't that many people. I mean, that's really remarkable.
Thank you. Do I have my story straight? Does anybody know? Was that the video? It was with Huey Lewis, right? Was the movie Is There Life Out There? Not with Huey. But I can't think who was in it.
I should have just took it's really the song, I think. I know I mentioned the movie, but it's really the song. So
Well, we did do a movie on it, but I can't think.
I should have just stuck to the song.
Okay.
Because that's what's really important. Another song I'm thinking about, also somewhat like kind of similar theme, but much more like in the positive, more of a positive register, is, although it's all positive, but I'm going to Take That Mountain.
Thank you for that. That's one of my favorite songs that I've ever gotten to record.
Why?
I'm Going to Take That Mountain is a very powerful, it's a very powerful song with lots of determination. And by golly, I'm going to take that mountain. I'm going to do this. You just watch me. And another thing I love about that song was the video of it. The concept was more Western. And so we've got, it was Don McLaughlin's brother. Marnie, would you please look that up? Don McLaughlin's brother, he was in the video, I'm going to Take That Mountain. Don and they were a team. They were a trick roping team, and they got, I got to say his name in this. Seemed plain as day. Yes, thank you so much. And we got Jean McLaughlin to get some female we got Jean McLaughlin to get some female trick ropers for the video. And they were doing, you know, the rope tricks and everything. And Jean would do some rope tricks and I'd walk in. And it was a lot of fun to get to do that. And then we had a female saddle bronc rider out of Canada who was also in the video. So it was strong, empowered women. I just thought it was perfect, and I'm going to take that mountain. I love to sing it on stage.
It's such a great song.
Thank you.
It's great. I love that song too. It's like, I know it's not the song that you're necessarily the most associated with, but if I had to pick an anthem for you, not that anybody asked me my opinion, like I'd be sorely tempted to pick that one.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment.
You recently sang another one of my favorites is "Does He Love You?"
Thank you.
I love that video so much. It's like a little movie.
Little mini movies, that's what they'd say we do all the time.
Yeah, it was great. Well, I also think you're a great storyteller. I think you just like kind of approach everything through that. You know, which not all people can be like great singers. It's like you're a singer, but not all singers are storytellers.
Right.
You know, it's like a whole other thing you bring to everything you do, really.
Thank you.
So I just love that video, and then you did it again with Dolly Parton recently. So and I know
Yeah.
she was a big, you know, somebody you admires. What was that like working with her on that?
Well, starting at the beginning of Does He Love You, I had found the song after listening to lots of songs, took it to Tony Brown, and we got Linda Davis, who was on the road with me, singing harmony and then singing songs because she had a record company, record deal of her own. And so I really wanted her to sing on the record so we could do it on tour. Little did I know it was going to be such a big song. We won a Grammy for it. It was just an absolute joy. And then to get to sing it with Dolly Parton on this last project, it's funny that Dolly and I never gotten to sing together. And we did on that song. And when I asked her to do it, she said, "You bet I'll do it." And unfortunately, because of COVID, we didn't get to sing it together at the same time, but we were together for the video.
You've always like, I know she's been like somebody that you admired.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, you know,
My hero. Dolly Parton, you know, there's a lot of times where you don't want to meet your heroes and the people you look up to because they're jerks sometime, and you're like, well, bummer. But Dolly, no. The first time I went to the Grand Ole Opry to perform, they told me that I wasn't going to get to sing 2 songs. And I said, why? They said, because Dolly Parton just rolled in and she's going to take one of your songs. And I said, shoot, she can take both of them. Can I meet her? That's how much I've always loved Dolly Parton. One of my favorite albums is my Blue Ridge Mountain Boy, her first album. And I've just always looked up to her. I love her work ethic. I love her talent, her beauty, just gorgeous, inside and out. When I met her finally, I was just so thrilled that she was that genuine and that friendly, that loving and that giving. I don't think I've ever met anybody as giving as Dolly.
oh, interesting. Wow. And she came up from like nothing.
Yeah.
Was really like,
8 kids in one bed. I think she tells that story about all the kids in her family slept in one bed. Yeah, she's great.
and I guess the other song I wanted to, well, just to go back to Does He Love You? So I also love the, you know, I hate to give it, everybody must have seen the video by now, right? Because it has been a while. Like the ending, I think, see, I kind of feel like a lot of country songs, the women just like have a lot of heartbreak and they feel bad and you feel bad for them and they're great songs.
Yeah.
But like usually your songs do not end up like crying in their beer.
Right.
You know, they end up, they have the heartbreak, but they do something, they go to another more positive place with it. And I just love that about your song. So can you kind of talk about that in terms of Does He Love You? Because Does He Love You is like that. It seems like a kind of classic, like, you know, he's cheating on her, poor her, and then you just turn it around.
On the video. It was a lot of fun to get to shoot that video because we were doing something in LA, another movie, and Rob Wine, oh, I know what it was, shoot. COVID's really messed with my memory. I am not kidding you. There's some things I just, it's gone. Yeah, it sure was. North was the movie we were doing with Rob Reiner. And so at the end of shooting the video, we all went out to, Linda came out to on the set of North, and we got Rob to be looking at the monitor and go, boom, did you like that? Did you like that? Yeah, it's a little bit of a revenge. It's a payoff when, or getting your revenge, blowing up the boat. And then when we got through with the song, Dolly looked over at me and said, do we get to blow up something?
That's great, I love that. And I mean, a song that's become really associated with you a lot is I'm a Survivor, which, why do you think that's become so associated with you? Do you have...
Number one, because that's become associated with me so much because number one record was a video, and then also to make that the theme song of the Reba TV show. Aired 6.5 seasons, and now it's in syndication 4 or 5 times a day over 3 different network streaming outlets. It's 5 times a week. So it's a very recognizable, familiar song that people can relate to. Being a survivor, no matter what you do in life, you can say, yes, I'm a survivor. And I have people in the audience raise their hand, whether it's breast cancer, whether it's any kind of disease or a marriage that's gone bad, losing loved ones. I'm a survivor, I have gone on. It's their anthem.
That's beautiful. One more song, Turn on the Radio. Why did you like that song, and how did you come to do it?
I liked Turn on the Radio because it was spunky, sassy attitude. And I love shooting the video with all the radios in the background.
It's great. So we were talking about your video. Speaking of spunky, we were talking about this the other day. Annie, Get Your Gun. I mean, the thing is, in your videos, you already were an actress. Like, you were an actress before you were officially an actress. Because I like those. They're like little mini movies. Your acting, it's like really good.
Thank you.
So, when you did Annie Get Your Gun on Broadway, you were a sensation. Everybody loved it.
Thank
Kristen
you.
Chenoweth said that it's one of the greatest musical comedies performances of stars she's ever seen. I agree with her. As you know, I mentioned it the other day.
Thank you.
What did you love about being Annie Oakley?
Everything about Annie Oakley I loved and admired. It's very interesting, her life story. And when I was a little bitty girl, before I went to school, there was the Annie Oakley show in black and white. I'd watch it on the TV when we could get reception. And so when Allison Paik would come in from school, I'd run down the hill and meet him at the cattle guard and tell him what had happened on Annie Oakley that day. And then when we went to Cheyenne for the rodeo, Daddy was competing there, we stayed at the old Frontier Hotel. And I remember as plain as day, I snuck out and I went down on the street and hooked a right, and there was a Western store there, and in one of the display windows was a mannequin with a small mannequin with a little cowgirl outfit on it, with a little skirt, a little vest, fringe and everything, rhinestones. I thought that's the prettiest thing I ever saw in my life. Nobody ever missed me. Isn't that strange? I just went back in the hotel and went up the stairs and went back in the room. Strange.
Well, how old were you?
I was probably 7.
Well, you guys were like really independent, though.
Yeah, Mama was busy with 4 kids. I guess she's just probably glad to have a little relief and quiet.
What did you learn from being on Broadway? You said the other day you felt that you had learned a lot.
Oh gosh. Well, I think one of the most important things in the business for me to be on Broadway, I was taken as a serious actor when I went in to do the sitcom with my name on it. So that was important. It carried a lot of weight, credibility. So I was very proud of that. I had heard Cher say that one time, that they take you more serious if you've done Broadway. I 100% agree.
That's really interesting. And And why did you, like, did you see yourself in Annie Oakley? Did you, like, she was like your idol when you were little. Did you, like, sort of see, like, she's like me kind of thing?
Well, they had asked me to do Annie Get Your Gun earlier before Bernadette. I'm pretty sure. I'm thinking that's right. My memory served me correctly. And I passed on it because I'm a touring artist and I'm a gypsy. But then when we were on our way to Europe to do a TV show called Star Sings the Beatles, our flight got canceled, and so in New York, and so we went to see Annie Get Your Gun. And at intermission, I was like, I got to be on that stage. That's the story I want to portray. I want to be in that story. And so we started working on it. That was 2000, so 2001 rolled around, and January 1, I was in rehearsals. January 23rd, my first performance on stage in front of a live audience, I got one dress rehearsal. And John Shuck, who was playing Buffalo Bill in the play while I was rehearsing, he was the one that came over and rehearsed with me. And we're still close friends today.
What was that like that first night on Broadway?
Oh my gosh. I was all dressed up in my old frontier look and my old hat, and I had a pigeon around me, and I had my horn and everything, and my gun, and I would sneak up stage left, and here comes Sam. Reba, you got to get out. They're going to run over you. You've got to get back. Well, I didn't go on for 17 minutes. And in the front part of the play, I was like, minute 18, here I come. So I wanted to see what they were doing out there. I wanted to be a part of it. And so about minute 15, they get me around and I climb up the stairs, and minute 18, then I shoot the pigeon off, or the pheasant off of the lady's hat, and here we go, full-fledged. And I had the best time. I never lost my voice. We did 8 shows a week, and we had Monday off. 2 shows Wednesday, 2 shows Saturday, and then we had Monday off. And then in the meantime, we took a little time off to go to LA to shoot the pilot for the Reba TV show, which was called Sally, not Reba. And so I went out there and did that. So because I left for a little bit of a time, I had to add on another month to make up for it. And so it was an experience I'll never forget. I was so grateful for.
I especially love Annie Get Your, You Can't Shoot a Man with a Gun.
Yeah.
Every time I see that, was that as much fun to perform as it
Oh,
was to watch?
heck yeah. Yeah. Every night, You Can't Get a Man with a Gun, I loved. And then I'd come back out and I said, okay, tonight, this is my favorite song. This one was my favorite song the next night. Wonderful songs. They weren't, I wouldn't classify them Broadway songs. They're just great songs.
Yeah, it was amazing. So the sitcom ran for 6.5 years, which is a really long time for a sitcom. It's really successful. It's complete. I watch it now. I sort of discovered it recently.
Good.
Before I knew about this.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, if I discovered it once I was watching it, I couldn't not watch it.
Good.
Just keep it's like, and I think it's you really, like you're just like very mesmerized.
Well, that's sweet you say that, but the chemistry between all of us was just magical.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. So
I'm just going to do a battery swap. Sorry if
okay.
it's cut off.
Loved it.
Are we ready? Air off? Thank you.
So many good shows out.
Is that new ABC show about Reba McEntire?
Oh,
Okay.
Everybody rolling?
I'm rolling.
Okay. I was late.
Are we turning the air off somewhere?
Turning, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Shorter nails next time.
Okay, at the beginning of a transcript, time code is 11:07:05:06:07. Marker? Okay, all set.
So we're going to probably, what was working with Melissa Peterman like?
When you say Melissa Peterman, I can't do anything but smile and laugh because she is the greatest, uplifting, funny, loving, totally musical. I don't think she can play an instrument, but she loves music so much. She's one of the most dynamic, interesting people I've ever met. versatile, ambitious, but I think more than ambitious, she just loves to work. So she's a lot of fun to work with. When I met her the first time, she says we met before the first day we all got together for a table read and thing, but I didn't remember that, unfortunately. But I've loved her ever since. We're best friends. I could call her any time of the day and say, Melissa, I need you to do so-and-so. She'd do it. And I pray that I'll always be there for her in that same capacity.
Yeah, it's so great when you have friends like that.
It sure is.
And were you involved in like developing the Reba character? Because I noticed, yeah, you were.
Well, go ahead, ask us a question.
Well, I noticed that, you know, her ex-husband is a little bit of a lunkhead.
Yeah.
And, you know, his wife is like, you know, not exactly the CEO of anything. And kind of, and then this, you know, child, and kind of the sensible, sane center of it all is the Reba character. Now, often in a sitcom, the central character, especially if it's a woman, will be kind of a bit of a, you know, I'm thinking Lucille Ball and Mary Tyler Moore. It's actually a little unusual that the center, and it works fantastically well, but, you know, the center, I noticed, is a kind of sensible, sane, you know, and I wondered if you, you know, I don't know if you were involved in that or if that was just a coincidence.
It totally evolved. Our first season was a family that our showrunner and the one who had developed the show, Allison Gibson, that was her family. And so the second season, it went more, when Kevin Abbott came on board, it came more into my character was more like me. And there could be chaos everywhere. I was the grounding center. And so I was the one responsible about bringing some sanity into our world. And so that's the way it continued on. And so all the little storms that would happen, Reba was the one to fix it. Now, she always got herself in a predicament or a bit her on the butt, but she was the one that finally brought it to come to a sane point.
Because it became more like you. So
It became more like me, absolutely. And the writers on the second season would write more conversationally, which made it a lot easier for me to memorize, because I came from the music world, and if it didn't rhyme or have a melody, it was like, oh my God, how do you memorize anything? So I was cheating and tearing my script up and laying it on a bowl or in a plate or open a cabinet and there's my lines. And it's easier for me now, but oh my gosh, it was hard. Melissa could go, I'm ready. Smart aleck. And Chris was that way too. Chris Rich, he could memorize easily. Not me.
that's really fun. Now I'm going to go back watching to see if I can see you looking for the little.
Oh, you'll be able to. And Melissa always caught me, heifer. She'd say, what was Reba doing at that cabinet so long? But what a great cast. With Steve Howey and Joanna Garcia and my kids, you know, it was just so much fun. Scarlett, Mitch, I just love them.
So now let's talk about the one that you're doing now, Big Sky.
Okay.
Which is like, so it's like yet another new thing that you're doing. It's like dark.
Yeah.
It's not based on your character at all, I don't think. Or not much from what I've read.
Uh-huh.
So, well, who are you playing and what is your character like?
I play Sonny Barnes. She's an ex-barrel racer, rodeo queen, and she and her husband Buck and son Cormac own the Sunny Day Excursions. It's a camping situation, and it's the nicest glamping thing I've ever seen in my life. It's beautiful. So things happen because the city people come in and they're looking for a nice relaxing week with us at the Sunny Day Excursions, and things start happening. People start disappearing. And we find out that Sunny's just not all she's cut out to be. You know, Sunny is the type that will go, I'll teach you how to make brownies. Then I'll cut your carotid artery. she's, kind of this. Kind of scary. I get chills watching it sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
Watching your own, like.
Uh-huh.
So, because that's so interesting. So, like, when you're playing her, like, you're really no longer her. So, when you go back to being you and you watch you being her, it's like you're.
Yeah, kind of scary. I was channeling Betty Davis the other day on Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte.
That sounds good. I really can't wait to watch this. Why did you decide to do it? It's such a departure.
It's a role that I've been looking for forever.
Really?
Yeah. Elwood Reed, showrunner, he said, could we Zoom? And I said, sure. And so we were sitting there talking about it, and he said, here's what I'm thinking about. And I'm like, really? And Rex was sitting over there, Rex Lynn, my boyfriend, he was sitting at the kitchen table, and he walked by and he said, Elwood, that's exactly what she's been needing all this time. And he said, Rex, aha. And so now Rex plays my husband. Worked out great.
Best audition ever.
Yeah.
But why did Rex say that's what she's been needing to do? Why did he say that?
Well, Clarence Spalding, my manager, has said that too. This is the role that we've been looking for Reba forever. A departure, not a comedy, not where she plays herself, not playing a good person, but a dark side. That's what we've been looking for a long time.
And why did you want to do that?
Just something different. And I think there's more. Oh my God, that scared me to death. Do you want to go fishing? Do you want to stay at home? I guess they don't. Nope. Nope, nope, nope.
We're dealing with a lot of adversity. We'll survive.
We're survivors, right? Well, I guess it's best for it to happen now instead of when they have everybody in here.
And somebody's on stage.
Exactly.
Right.
Very annoying.
It's very annoying when you're singing your heart out.
Yeah.
Mind-shattering alarm goes off.
Oh.
Does that have? I mean, you must have.
I was just thinking, I can't remember a time that's happened.
What about the earthquake in Vegas?
Oh my gosh, right. We were playing Las Vegas, Ronnie and Kix and myself, the Brooks and Dunn and Reba. We have a,
Ed, you still rolling, right?
we had a, what do you call it? Residency. We had a residency in Vegas at Caesars. And I noticed everybody was started getting up out of their seats and moving. And then dust was just coming down. And I was like, what's going on? And I hear in my ear monitors, just had an earthquake. I don't remember if we evacuated.
Marty, didn't y'all go back and finish?
What are we talking about?
The earthquake in
at
Vegas.
Caesars?
We didn't evacuate, we just stopped, and you were singing going out like that.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I was sitting underneath her,
Shouldn't happen again. Shouldn't happen again.
and I looked up and I was like, no, I don't think we should be under this. And you said the whole balcony cleared, and you
Yeah.
saw the dust.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, because you were on stage and couldn't feel it. But
No.
all of us,
I don't understand. Oh, because it was hollow underneath.
yeah, I think there were so many layers of, you were under the lift, which
Uh-huh.
was on the stage, which was also on a set, which is, where the rest of us, everything, like everything over our heads.
Scary.
This.
And the next day it had another one, I think.
It was the day before.
Day before, okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
You called me from your hotel room going, what is happening? And I was up in the mountains, I had no idea what was happening.
You said, well, I don't know exactly.
I know that an earthquake won't stop you.
Yeah, earthquake won't stop me. I guess alarm won't either.
He says, disregard the alarm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We won't go running out of the room.
Uh-huh.
So how's that?
It's wonderful. Rex and I get along so well. We've been officially dating for 2.5 years. We met in '91 on the Gambler movie with Kenny Rogers, and then stayed in contact with each other throughout the years, seeing each other at different events. And then in January of 2020, before COVID, I was in LA shooting Young Sheldon. Well, he's on Young Sheldon. And he texted me and said, hey, let's go to dinner afterwards. So Marnie and myself, Melissa Peterman, and Steve, the showrunner for Young Sheldon, we all got together for dinner. And I just knew that was right by his side is where I wanted to be.
Right then and there.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah. I don't think he knew it. Marnie said she and Melissa knew that was our first date. And then COVID hit, and I didn't see him again until June 16th when he flew to Nashville when he could because of COVID.
That's, wow. What is he like? What is it?
Rex, larger than life, always in a great mood, very inquisitive, an animal lover of all kinds, except spiders. That's not an animal. But he's very curious. He loves every aspect of the entertainment business. He loves music, and he loves to act. He started when he was 32 years old, which is very up in the years for an actor, but he's done so many things. My son Shelby, when they'll say, Rex Lynn, Shelby say, just watch any movie in the 90s and you'll see him.
That's so great.
He's a force of nature, and he loves to rehearse. He loves to be prepared. So he's really good for me. I know my lines and everybody else in the scene. I know everybody's lines because we run them over and over and over. And then when we get on the set, it's, you're comfortable with it and you can play with it. And we do play with the scene. The directors and Rex and I have a blast.
It sounds great.
Yeah.
How are you juggling the show with your tour?
Well, that's going to be a good question. No, I can't say that because this is going to be out in November.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, nobody will ever hear anything I say. You just hear you.
Well, I was going to say we don't know yet because I haven't started, but it'll be in October. Well, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be great.
So you're gonna fly back and forth.
Uh-huh.
between-
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll be filming on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then tour Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then go back to Albuquerque. So we'll see. Pray for me.
I will, but I don't think I need to. Although it does sound like really kind of it sounds like intense.
It is. It's going to be intense. Yeah.
You're in general, you're kind of a pretty busy, nonstop person, right? What is like and I know there probably isn't, I'm gonna use a word and I know that it's the wrong word, but what's like a typical, I know it's the wrong word, day in the life of Reba like?
I don't have typical days. I think the only time I had typical days is when I was shooting the Reba show because we had a pretty consistent schedule. Doing the Annie Get Your Gun on Broadway, very consistent schedule. But besides that, shooting the TV show, one Monday you'll be picked up at 4 a.m. and work till dark. And then you've got to drive all the way back to the house. So that's a hard day. And then Thursday, Friday, you might have off. And then the next time you work, you might be picked up at 2 in the afternoon. So it's just whoever puts that schedule together, I applaud. I don't see how they keep it straight.
Is that like variety and that constant, like the fact that nothing's ever the same all that change? Is that something, it seems like that's something you like and thrive on and feed off of? Like you don't.
I don't like early hours at all. I don't like to wake up early in the morning. I like to, unless it's to go to the bathroom, get back in bed. But I like, 7 or 8 o'clock is sane. But earlier than that, it's hard. You come back at a 4 o'clock pickup and drive an hour and a half to the set. You get home and you're just like a zombie. So you've wasted the rest of your day taking a nap, then you can't go to sleep at night. So it disrupts everything, but that's the part of it. You got to get an early start. Somebody's got to go first, to get everything done. I totally understand it's business.
What do you do on a day that you have off?
I do laundry. I straighten up the house, get groceries, do the dry cleaning, and just sit outside and look at the beautiful mountains there in Albuquerque. We absolutely love it there. New Mexico is a beautiful state. I've gotten a tour there, but I've never really gotten to spend time there, so I really love it.
And if you're home in Nashville and you have a day off, what do you do?
Oh, I hang out with friends or go walking or do things that I've got to catch up on while I was away. There's always something to be done.
I didn't ask about your restaurant yet, but, well, we sort of mentioned it, but what is it going to be like?
The restaurant?
Yeah.
My restaurant's called Reba's Place in Atoka, Oklahoma. I partnered with the Choctaw Nation and went in to do this restaurant, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's American food, country food, Southern cuisine, and everybody's kind of coming in with their favorites. I've told Chef Curtis what I really would like, and now the rest of our group and our team are pitching in to make sure it's going to be the best possible. Friendly, comfortable, good food, great atmosphere, music. I didn't want the music to be real loud and with amplifiers and loudspeakers. I wanted it to be music that you can eat to and still be able to talk, and entertaining, and maybe have some local people come in and entertain, maybe tell stories, maybe do readings. Just, the sky's the limit. You think it up, let's try it.
That's great. Will it have mountain oysters on the menu?
Well, yes, we will have mountain oysters when they're in season.
So you know where I'm going. You used to collect mountain oysters.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, because you grew up on a ranch. How did you go, because you grew up on a cattle ranch, which we'll get to, but how did you go about that, collecting mountain oysters? Can you tell me that?
How do you collect mountain oysters? Okay, so Daddy in the spring would buy cattle, and he'd get them from South Texas or Louisiana, sometimes Florida, sometimes Selborne. But when he would get several loads in, big cattle truck loads full, they would be bulls. So when we would get them, we'd have to give them their vaccinations and brand them, ear tag them, make sure everybody else knew they were our cattle when they got to straying off the property. And another thing we would do would castrate the bulls. They would put on more weight because Daddy was in the feeder cattle operation, crossbred steers, and you buy them in the spring, sell them in the fall. So if they were castrated, they weren't hanky-pankying around, and they would eat more grass instead, and they would gain more weight. That's the nicest way I can think of saying it. So that's the way Daddy made his living.
And how did you
Okay, back to the question, thank you. So when it was time to castrate the bulls, Susie, as a little girl, she would watch them come into the squeeze chute, and she'd say whether they were a bull or a steer. And so Daddy'd say, Susie, what are they? And she'd say, it's a, because she had a stutter when she was little. She'd say, well, Daddy already had it cut and out by the time she said it's a steer or a bull. And so Susie would hold the tail back, or I would hold the tail back, and Daddy would castrate them, and then the buckets would be right there, and Daddy would throw the testicles into the bucket. And then when it got about 11 o'clock in the morning, Daddy would say, okay, girls, take the bucket up to your mama. And so Mama was usually there, but we'd all go to the house, and us girls would sit in the backyard, and we'd take one and we'd split it, and we'd take the meat out of the shell, and then Mama would take it and clean them, and then slice them sideways or lengthwise, and they were real thin. And she would flour, cornmeal, salt and pepper, and deep fry them. And they were great.
I actually want to try it right now. It sounds. So
They're really good.
But I have this image, so you were like this little kid with big white plastic buckets of bulls'
Testicles?
parts.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'd carry them up to the house and clean them and take them into Mama. She had a big frying pan this big, and it was set on 2 burners, and then a big oval white platter, and it would be heaped up like this with mountain oysters. It tasted a little like fish, more firm, but you put ketchup on lime or lemon, excellent.
I love that. I guess I'd have to ask, I guess just to, so I make sure that I use this with the ABC sensibilities, which can be a little bit more delicate than my own.
Uh-huh.
If you could just tell me the part where, instead of saying the word testicles, that might set them off. If you just called it like whatever word you want to use, special parts, that part, just if you could like be more a little euphemistic about after your father would,
Castrate them.
castrate them.
The parts that, well, we always called them bull nuts. So they sure wouldn't like that, I'm sure. So let me see. Daddy would castrate them, and we'd take those parts, put them in the bucket, and then us girls would take them up to the house in the backyard, and we'd slice them and peel the meat out, and then put them in another platter or a bowl, and then take them into Mama, and she'd fry them up.
Great, I think I can get that
Okay.
past them. So, we grew up on a cattle ranch. What was the work you did on the cattle ranch? I was like amazed at how much work you did.
Well, it was an 8,000 acre cattle ranch and ran crossbred steers. And so you had to help with the gathering, because in the fall you had to all right, in the spring we got them all straightened up, healthy, and they ran on grass up in the hills and got fat. And then in the fall, you would gather them and put them back on the trucks after you weighed them, and then ship them out. And you were paid so much a pound. And so they would ship them up to feedlots and continue to get fatter. So we helped with the gathering, with the doctoring, with moving them from pasture to pasture. Anything that was required of a hired hand to do, we did. Us 4 kids, Mom and Daddy and Grandpap and Louis Sandman and John Sharp later on. Us kids were pretty much the hired hands.
How early did you have to get up?
Oh, it depends on what we were doing. If we were gathering cattle, it was before sunup, while Daddy was getting breakfast and Mama was getting ready for work. Pake and Alice would go out to a 40-acre pasture and gather the horses. Well, they're frisky, and they're running over each other and trying to get away from us. And then you have to gather them, get them to the barn, saddle them up, and they usually stepped on your feet, and it's cold. And then by the time we ate breakfast and got on the horses and up into the hills, the sun was coming up.
That was all before the sun.
And then we'd get them to the pens, and Mama was the person in charge of weighing them. They'd run them up on scales 8 at a time, unless they were larger, and then we'd be 6 at a time. And Mama would run the scales, and then we'd go to school.
Wow, you did all of that before school. Did you guys ever, so it was hard work?
Oh, we loved it. It wasn't that grueling. It was long hours, and you sure slept good at night. The worst part was the doctoring, and in the springtime, that was the hardest. And then when some would get sick later on and you had to take them to the pens and doctor, or got some more cattle in and it was hot, and you're standing there by the branding irons and stuff, I passed out one time. I think I had a heat stroke. And when I came to, Daddy said, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Bring me another one." I hopped up and got him another one. We had to finish. I did that in an interview one time, and the headline was, "Reba was abused as a child." And I took such offense to that. I was very well taken care of. I never was hungry. I always had a great place to sleep. And I was taught to mind, and I knew how to take direction. Will McKenzie, the director of the Reba Show, said I was the most directable person he's ever met. I said, "Well, you can thank Clark McIntyre for that. Because when he told you to do something, you looked at him and maybe read his lips if his wind was blowing or something else was going on, and you did what he said to do. You didn't say, 'Well, I don't want to,' or 'Can I do that tomorrow?' No." And Mama was the same way. There wasn't any counting 1, 2, 3, don't go do it. You did it.
What was your father like?
Daddy was ambitious, very focused. He knew what he wanted. He grew up very poor, and And then when he died, you would never know he had a penny. I took him to Paris one time, and on a day off, we were going to find a laundromat and wash clothes, and his socks were so bad, all the elastic gone, I threw them away and bought him some more. Because he didn't live like he had a lot of money.
But he was very determined, right?
Very determined. I mean, he was a rodeo cowboy. The money that he made, he came home, paid the grocery bill, paid off on the loan, and bought more cattle or more land. So he got up to 20,000 acres in southeastern Oklahoma from, absolutely nothing. I think he had 100 acres when he and Mama got married.
That is so amazing. Do you feel like that's where your determination comes from?
Absolutely. Mama's a hard worker. She came from a family of sharecroppers, and so she worked hard. She was teaching school before she graduated, and so she was a hard-working woman. Daddy was a hard-working man, and our determination and our hard work ethic came from them. And we're all four of us kids are hard workers, and we're very proud of it.
And that competitive, he was a very successful rodeo champion.
Yeah,
right?
3 times world champion steer roper, and very competitive. Paik and I, when we were released from chores, we'd run out of the house singing, anything you can do, I can do better. Whether it's throwing a rock, doing push-ups, pull-ups, running, roping, didn't matter. And I didn't know that I was going to be singing that on stage, portraying Annie Oakley one time later, way later.
That's amazing. So it's that story about how, like, even though he had done real well for himself through just hard work and, intelligence, he didn't, it sounds like he didn't, it wasn't about, so much the end result as, the
Getting there.
getting there. Can you talk about that?
One time I asked Daddy, I had won Entertainer of the Year at the CMAs and female vocalist, and we got back in the limousine to go to the after parties, and Daddy was in there, and I had my 2 trophies. I said, Daddy, when you won the championship, what was more fun for you? Receiving that trophy buckle and the big saddle, or the getting there? He said, the getting there. Lots more fun. And I said, what did you do when you won the trophy and the championship? He said, I entered up the next rodeo.
So you're really his daughter.
Yeah, that's what I do. And book us another show. Let's go again.
And you did the rodeo too, right? You were a barrel racer. What is that? Well, have your drink. I don't want to.
Daddy never wanted any of us kids to rodeo. He wanted us to be something else, teachers or bankers or lawyers or anything, because it was not a guaranteed way of making a living. You put up your own entry fee money. If you didn't win, you didn't have any money. You went home without the payday. So when I started running barrels, I did because Alice was running barrels.
I'm sorry, can you stop that?
I'll start it again. So when I started running barrels, Alice was already running barrels. She's 4 years older than me. So I kind of just copied whatever Alice did. But Alice was good at it. I was not good at it. Alice was a daredevil. I mean, you go real fast. There's 3 barrels set out in the arena in a triangle shape, and you go around in a cloverleaf pattern, and whoever goes around the fastest wins. And if you knock over a barrel, you get a 5-second penalty. But I love to practice. I love to be in the practice pen. It just scared me to death when I got in the arena. The horse knows I'm scared, so we were both nervous going out there. So I wasn't that good at it. But I love the families, the people. Generations keep rodeoing. So people that we were hanging out at the rodeos when Daddy was rodeoing, their kids and grandkids are rodeoing while we are. So it was a family aspect. And that was what made me so nervous when I went into the music business. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the people. Are we going to have a family like that there? And thank God, yes, we do.
So what was the first thing, so you didn't want to be a rodeo?
I did.
Did you want to be, what was your first ambition as a child?
Oh, I wanted to be a world champion barrel racer. Yeah. I didn't want to be the rodeo queen. I wanted to be the world champion barrel racer. A world champion barrel racer, Gail Petska, and I were sitting back behind the rodeo arena one time waiting on our names to be called to go in there and compete. And she said, Reba, I've always wanted to sing. And I said, well, Gail, I've always wanted to be a world champion barrel racer. I said, you want to swap? And she said, no. Take it.
She was really lovely. She really loved rodeo, not want to swap with you.
She was a good barrel racer. I loved to watch her.
So so you were nervous when you did it in the arena, but you weren't nervous when you practiced?
Yeah.
But you're not nervous when you're on stage.
No, I'm more confident. It's me. It's me. I'm not depending on a horse and my ability to steer him around barrels. It's me. And I know my limits. I know what I can't do. And over the years, I've gotten more confidence, and then I'll try more things. And, you know, like dancing with 10 dancers. I'm not a dancer, but I had fun with choreographers and helping me out. Jerry Evans, bless his heart, trying to teach me how to dance and count and sing at the same time. But it was a fun and a good part of my career. I enjoyed it.
So when did you realize you wanted to sing?
Always.
But when did it become like your ambition?
Well, singing was the thing that I got good attention for. Not bad attention, good attention. I got enough of the bad. But I was first grade singing behind a microphone. That was my first time, singing Away a Manger at the Christmas program at Kiowa High School. And anytime they'd say at a program, I don't remember, it's Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, if anybody wants to sing a solo, raise your hand. I always did. And Mama liked that. So I got Mama's attention. I was third out of 4 kids. I wasn't the oldest, the youngest, the only boy. I was the third. Mama was the third. So she understood.
So it was a way to like distinguish yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
And did your mother was a singer too, right?
Uh-huh.
She like cultivated your...
Encouraged, yeah. Mama was a really good singer, but she didn't get to do what all of us kids got to do. She didn't have parents to encourage and take them around to places to sing and rodeo and play basketball. Mama was our #1 cheerleader, always. And when we were going to Nashville in '75 to go see Red Steagall, I was like, oh, let's pull over here. Oh, let's pull over here from Oklahoma. It's like 10 to 12 hour drive. Finally, Mama said, Reba, if you don't want to do this, let's just go home. But I'll tell you something. If you decide to go on with this, I'll be living all my dreams through you. And I said, well, shoot, why didn't you say that in the beginning? Let's go. And so I had a reason to do it for me and Mama.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm really struck by how she didn't say you have to do it. She didn't push you.
Mm-mm.
She didn't say you had to do it. She just...
Smart. If she'd have said, you have to do it, well, I don't want to do it. No, she said, yeah, you don't have to do it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I didn't say I didn't want to do it now. Let's talk about it. Very smart.
And also, like, so she was more like encouraging but not pushing.
Always. Yeah.
They won't hear my voice.
Mama was never a pushy mother. She wasn't a stage mom. She was encouraging, supportive, drive you there. Whatever you need to do, want to do, she was there. Always. It was with Alice rodeoing, Pake rodeoing. She would drive Pake all over the country rodeoing. And then when she got tired, she'd say, Pake, you got to drive. He said, I'll drive if you read to me. So they'd keep the dome light on, and she'd read him stories out of her book while he drove.
Really good mom.
Yeah.
When you had your first #1 hit, was that who you called?
Mama. Called Mama first. I'll never forget, we were in DeSoto, Texas, and the front left wheel was just fixing to fall off. So we pulled into like a bus shop, mechanic's shop, and there was a phone over there, and I said, can I use your phone? He said, yeah. So I just dialed my manager, Don Williams. I said, well, what's new? He said, well, we got some good news. Your song went #1. And I was like, here I am sitting in a greasy bus shop. And I said, I was screaming and crying and so thrilled. And I hung up and I called Mama. I said, Mama, we finally got our first #1 record.
Because it was really weak.
Yeah.
What was her reaction?
Oh, she started crying too. She was thrilled to pieces. Yeah. Because it had taken from 76 to 83 to get that. Long time to get a #1 record.
Wow, that's really. What do you feel like you learned from her?
Oh my gosh, how long do you have? What did I learn from Mama? She taught by living by example, not preaching. She taught us, when you say you're going to do something, you do it. Your word is worth a lot. That's yours. And if you say you're going to be there at 10, be there at 10. Because people need to trust you, but you have to work for their trust. Stuff like that. I sure do miss her.
I know she passed not that long ago. How did you deal with it? How did you get through it?
I was with her 2 weeks before she passed. I stayed there with her, and I slept with her, and I said, Mama, what am I going to do without you? She said, you'll get by. You'll be fine. She's a tough cookie. When we had to move her into a hospital bed, I was sitting there with her, just me and her, and there at the house at Stringtown, and I was just singing to her and just singing songs, and she opened her eyes and she said, did you say something to me? I said, Mama, I've been singing my butt off here to you. She went, ooh, sing it again. Went right back to sleep.
You were
Really, really blessed to have a mama like her. If I could be just a fourth of the good mama she was, I'd be a good mama. She's the best.
Talking about you guys singing together, you and your mom and stuff. Oh my God, it's incredible.
Yeah, that was the fun parts. Getting Mama and Susie and Allison Paik, all of us together to sing, and we'd be in the kitchen singing all the time, cooking, singing, and Mom would say, "You're on Susie's part," and then Susie'd be on my part, and Mom would be the one. But what the greatest thing that we got to do in 2017, we did a show at the Ryman Auditorium there in Nashville for my gospel album. And I got Mama and Susie and Alice, Paik couldn't do it, to sing on stage with me. And we did I'll Fly Away. That was great to get her on tape.
I'm going to find out where that is. Is that tape's around somewhere?
Yeah.
I'd love to see.
Yeah, it's a special. We've got it on DVDs or whatever,
Oh, but
streaming or...
that's amazing. You said that, did you feel, yeah, I'll let you do it.
Was that the part you were talking about, just getting to sing together? Or was
Yes.
there a specific one?
No, just always. You guys are always singing. Like, that was the most incredible thing about that special we did, what, a year ago? 2 years ago? Well, no, right? 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys were singing at the house. Remember when we were
Oh, yeah.
getting ready? Oh, so incredible.
You always knew where Mama was in the house. She was either humming or singing or whistling.
That's so cool. Can you tell a story about how, like, because you were in a singing group with your siblings, and she would have you practicing, rehearsing, and then she'd come out with a spatula.
Yeah.
Tell that story, so it was so fun.
Yeah, when Susie and Paik and I were singing McIntyres, we would always be in the living room there at Chalky where we grew up. And Paik would play his guitar, he's left-handed, and Susie and I'd be sitting there singing, and we'd say, Mama, we got it, come see what you think. So she'd be in there cooking and frying potatoes or something, and she'd come in with her spatula, and she'd say, okay, sing it, let me hear it. And we'd sing it, get through with it, and she said, that's perfect, now do it again. And she'd go back, keep frying potatoes.
reporter of as good a mom. I'm sure you're. What did she influence the way you were a mother to your own child?
Uh-huh. Mama taught me, well, she always said, you've never lived until you've had a child of your own. I never wanted kids. Never did. And then when Narvel and I got together, I told Narvel, I said, I want a child. And he said, okay. So we got married, we had Shelby, and I tried to channel Mama on every situation and predicament and that I had with Shelby. And the number one thing is when you're with your child, you give them the attention. But when you have to go work, that's it. You go play. Let me have my time. But boy, when I had Shelby, I would go to work and I'd fly home, and even when he went to school, I'd take him to school the next morning, and then I'd get him from school, and then I'd get on the plane and go to a show. I had the luxury of flying private instead of a tour bus, so he went with me, or he had to stay at home for school, and so we were pretty inseparable. There were times where he had to stay home, which just killed me, but I had a lot of problems in my pregnancy, but I'd have hung by my toenails from the ceiling to have that child. And I was very blessed to have 3 stepchildren, and so 4 kids that I just absolutely love with all my heart.
You actually said once that, it sounds like you balanced it really good. I mean, it's always an issue for anybody who's a mother and has a career, especially, but if you're a mother and you have like a really, really big career, it's like even more of a balancing act. And you said once there are a lot of girl singers. I was so struck by this. You said there are a lot of girl singers who are 10,000 times better than me, which I don't believe, but you said it. But they don't have the drive. They don't have the work ethic. They're not willing to sacrifice what it takes to do this. What did you mean by that?
Well, there are a lot of girl singers a lot more talented than me, have a lot better voice than I do. But I'm determined. I have a work ethic that my mom and daddy taught me. I've got huge drive, huge determination, great curiosity. What else can we do? What more can we do? And I'm very competitive. So that lumps around to a pretty good chance you're going to be successful because I'm very blessed with a voice that God gave me that I feel if I don't use it and give Him the glory, you know, He could take that away from me if He wants to. He gave it to me, take it away. But I've always believed that. There's a lot more people more talented than me, but a lot of people don't want to sacrifice what you have to do. Look at Loretta Lynn's life. Look at Dolly's life, Barbara's life, Tammy. Golly, all the women who are very, very successful have had to sacrifice. I've missed games. I've missed times at home. Been in a Holiday Inn by myself, and everybody at home around the dinner table, and you can hear them laughing when I call home. You must want it pretty bad to miss all of that. And I did.
Do you have any, obviously I think it all worked out great, but would you change anything if you went back?
Would I change anything if I went back? Yeah, I would. I know there's a lot of things I would have changed. To not hurt people, to not disrupt lives. Oh yeah, I'm sure I would do a lot of things different.
And what role, like when you do have like a loss or a sadness or a loss, what role does music play in that for you? Does that help you get through it?
All the losses that I've had in my life, music has really helped me through it. It's number one, it occupies my mind, it gets me a job, it keeps me busy, as the gambler did after the plane crash in '91 when I lost my friends and my band and my tour manager, and the 2 pilots were on the plane. You have to have your faith, you have to have family and friends for support, and the music. I told Vince Gill, I said, how am I going to get on stage and they're not there? He said, I'll be there for you, buddy. Dolly said, take my band.
Such good friends. So great to have them there.
Mm-hmm.
I was really, because I read your account of that in your book, and I was really struck by how what you thought, one of the things you said you thought about then, this really struck me, was you thought not only did those people you cared about so much lose their lives, but the people that loved them, they was like that was somebody's father, somebody's husband, somebody's brother. Like all of those people were also suffering
Right.
that loss. And like, how did you, that must have been so hard to tell them.
It was a really rough situation because not only did it affect a tour we were on, but go beyond that, way beyond that, of the families, the friends of those members that we lost on that plane crash. That ripple effect, generations to come, generations before. It was the hardest, by far, the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. We've talked about it, and it never gets easier.
Why did you decide to do the Oscars? I've heard you tell this story. It's kind of an amazing story. You were supposed to do the Oscars. Nobody thought you were going to be able to do it, but you had some experience. I remember hearing this or reading about it somewhere. It's this really interesting experience that made you want to do it.
I was booked to do the Oscars. We had already talked about it, had it booked, had my outfit ready to go. And then the plane crash happened in '91. And we flew home that day, Sandy Spica, Narvel, and myself. And the next day, I was sitting in my vanity, and Narvel had said, they're asking, are you still going to do the Oscars? Of course, absolutely not. How am I even going to get on any stage, much less the Oscars? And I was sitting at my vanity, and I heard Jim Hammond, plain as day, say, go do the Oscars and do it for us. And I said, that's sweet. So I went back in there and I told Narvel, I said, yeah, I'll do the Oscars. He said, are you sure? I said, yeah. And Meryl Streep was pregnant, and she was nominated, and she was going to sing, I'm checking out of this Heartbreak Hotel from Postcards on the Edge. And I thought, wow, they did. They checked out of this Heartbreak Hotel. How fitting.
It's amazing. Jim Hammond?
Hammond.
I think, who is he?
Jim Hammond was my tour manager. And then the rest was my band. And the other part of the band, 2 band members and the rest of the crew were on the other plane.
So Jim Hammond was on the plane that went down.
Right.
I think I need you to say that so that people
Okay.
know that.
Jim Hammond was my tour manager. He and 7 members of the band were on the plane that crashed on Otay Mountain there in San Diego with the 2 pilots.
That's an amazing story. I just want to thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome.
Um,
It's any way I can pay tribute to the ones that went on, getting ready for us, and the families and friends. Their memory is kept alive. I never want them to be forgotten. So thank you for asking.
you were at, oh yeah, why didn't you, this is change of topic, happier things. You said you wouldn't sing, oh wait,
Well, go ahead. You can ask me. I can get thinking about my answer.
okay. You said you wouldn't sing any songs about beer.
Oh, yeah. When I first got started in the business, I guess it was something Mama said to keep my image, crystal clear, pure, clean. So I wouldn't sing about cigarettes, whiskey, beer. And then in the 80s, I got pitched a song called Does Fort Worth Ever Cross Your Mind? Oh man, that's a good song. I passed on it. Then I listened to it again. Oh man, I want to do that song. Cold Fort Worth beer. Oh, I can't do that. I put it on hold, off hold, on hold, off hold. And finally, when we called back, they said, oh, that's okay. George Strait put it on hold. And I said, you know what? That's exactly where that song needs to be. Huge hit.
So, the name of the song is what?
Does Fort Worth ever cross your mind?
Does Fort Worth?
Fort Worth, Texas? Yeah.
Because it was about beer?
It was about beer in Fort Worth, Texas.
I love that. That's really funny.
Yeah.
You were, in 2019, you were hosting the Academy of Country Music Awards, and you had some, like, words to say about women in country, and you spoke out about it very, like, kind of boldly. What, what prompted you?
I don't know what I say.
You said there was not a single woman in the category of Entertainer of the Year, the top award of the night. It was very disappointing, but not surprising.
Oh,
And I'm just, because I know that, to me it's amazing, because I don't know that much about country music, and in talking to, I didn't even know there was an issue about women in country, because that's how ignorant I was. And I want to mention to people, because I was excited, so I'm going to be talking to Reba McEntire, and I said, there's an issue with women in country. They said, what do you mean? The people, every single person I spoke to said, the people I listen to are Patsy Cline, Reba McEntire, Shania Twain, like the only people they listen to.
Yeah.
Like I'm in New York City, so it's not like the home of country.
Yeah.
They said the people I know listen to are the women in country, like you.
wow.
So
Amazing.
To me, it was like, to a lot of people like me,
Uh-huh.
it's like country is filled with women, because it's filled with Reba and Shania and Loretta Lynn and Dolly Parton.
Uh-huh.
That's what we think of when we think country, but I have learned that that is not really like the way the thing is like built.
Yeah.
So I just wondered what you thought about all that.
Well, in country music, it is cyclical. It will go traditional, and then it will go over contemporary. And then the women will be hot, and then a little bit later, the men will be hot. And that was at a time when the men were really hot. Now, in the 80s and 90s, especially, I'm pretty sure it was the 80s. I mean, it was Winona and Trisha and Faith and Martina, myself, the Judds. I mean, the women were just powerhouses. And then here comes the men, and then they get, a big bunch, and then here comes the women again. So that was just at a point what you're talking about when I was at the CMAs. I think it was the CMAs, did you say? The CMAs that it was. Where's the women?
Do you feel like the women are back now?
Not yet. I don't think the women are back yet where they need to be, but they're getting there.
And what do you like? Do you have advice for like women in country?
I guess the best advice I could give any woman wanting to sing is be honest, sing from the heart, and sing songs that really mean a lot to her, that when she sings them, that feeling and emotion will be transmitted through that song from whoever's singing it to the person listening to it. That's what's so important. If you can make that connection, that song is that much more powerful and special.
Well, that's exactly what you do. It's like a sort of a straight line between what you're feeling or what I think
Thank
you're
you.
feeling to like the listener. That's what's so like, it's one of the things that's so powerful.
Yeah, I call ourselves, the people who do that are the water hoses. We're kind of, we're just the vessel. We're the conduit. We have a great song, and if we sing it from the heart and soul of our being, when you hear it, you're going to receive it like that, instead of it just being words and a melody.
Right. That's exactly what it feels like.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing.
Thank you, Lord.
And the other thing that kind of has struck me is that, like, and I know these songs are written by men, by women, by all kinds of people, but it always, and I don't know if this is something you bring or it's the songs you sing or I don't know if it's your interpretation, what you bring to it, or the songs you choose or what, but it always feels like, when I think about it, it feels like the songs, they're universal. Everybody can love them and relate to it and relate to the emotion. So that's totally true, but they're also sort of like centered in like women's experiences. you know, it feels like it's a woman's point of, you know, like the stuff, like again, universal but also centered in women's experiences. Is that something you kind of look for, or you just gravitate to it, or maybe I'm just making it up?
No, no, no. There are a lot of songs that I had sung in the past that I was happily married. Somebody Should Leave was a hit when I was married to Charlie. At the time when it went number one, I was very much in love and happy. But I knew that was a great song because I know there's a lot of people listening who can relate to it. And if a song can be relatable, that makes it an even more strong song, because you could say, oh my gosh, they wrote that for me. They're singing that directly to me. Oh, I know my cousin, she'll want to hear this song. She can relate to it. That makes it a more strong song because someone can relate to it.
So that's the thing you look for in this, one of the
Uh-huh.
things you look for.
Got to be relatable.
We just need to roll 15 seconds of tone just for the second machine. Here's 15 seconds of room tone starting now.
Is it possible you could, let's start it over?
We'll just keep rolling.
Did you need something?
We're just doing tone.
Okay. Oh, so you
So
need
we
me
need
to,
silence.
so you need,
Sorry.
So peaceful.
Okay, that's the end of room tone. Thank you. We're still rolling.
one thing I forgot, I meant to ask you about and I didn't ask you about was, because it did take so long for you to get established, and you probably patiently just went one incremental step after the next moving forward, which would be a great lesson for young people to learn. Is like, you wrote in your book about the house you lived in. That was like such a, I think you said the only reason the walls didn't fall down was because the mice were all. Can you tell me about that house and when you lived in it?
Well, when I got married in 1976, I had was completing my last semester of college, and I had just signed the contract in 75, so I was doing my first single. And Charlie and I were rodeoing because I was still running barrels at the time. I was 21. And so there was a small house in Chalky that Alice had lived in for a while. Paik had lived there, and so I moved in there. We called it the weaning shack, weaning away from Mama and Daddy. And so it was $10 a month rent, and it had a cistern that you had to go haul water to put in it, and the floor sloped from the bedroom to the bathroom, had 2 bedrooms, and ceiling fell in twice. And as you reminded me, the walls stayed together because the mice were holding it together. And it was quite the place. We lived there until I went to Nashville for fanfare with my 2 cousins, Paula and Ricky, and Jan, their buddy. And when we were coming home from Nashville on the drive home, Ricky Joy told me that she and Lloyd were wanting to sell their place at Stringtown and wanted to keep 10 acres and sell 217 acres of it. And I said, I want to buy it. And she looked at me like, good luck on that. But I said, let me see if I can buy it. And so Charlie wasn't really for it at the time, but I used my record contract as collateral and bought that. And the banker said, oh, in his mind, I'm sure he's thinking, your daddy's going to bail you out of it. I'll never get my money from you. But every time I had 2 or 3 shows a weekend, the Monday morning I went in there and made a payment on that place. Finally got it paid off. But the little house at Chalky served its purpose.
Right, that was a period where you were like singing and you were like working cattle, right? You were working on a ranch to like pay off the loan, or I forget what it was, but you were actually, you'd go out, you'd sing, and then you would go to the ranch and like do
We had cattle, yep. Yeah, I would sing, have concerts, and then come in because Charlie ran cattle also like Daddy did. I think that's why I married Charlie, because he was so much like Daddy, except he had a more fun disposition and was more fun to be around than Daddy was. Daddy was just always so stern and business-minded constantly. But yeah, I'd come home and work cattle. That was part of it.
What was like because your father wasn't much of one to give compliments, I gather, right? So what was like the best compliment he ever gave you?
Daddy gave me really 2 good compliments, and I promise you, I got a bug here, and I promise you I would remember the compliments. One, we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was waiting for them to gather everybody to come do the meet and greet after the show. And we were in a room, kind of like a large dressing room that had seats, padded seats. I just laid down. And Daddy kind of laid down on the other side, and he propped his head up on his elbow, and he said, "Reba, you sure do work hard." I'm like, wow. I told Alice, Peyton, and Susie immediately when I could define the time. And the other one was, I was talking to him on the phone, which was very rare, and I was coming over the bridge there at Gallatin, Tennessee, and he said, "Oh, so-and-so said he saw you, heard you on the radio the other day, and they talk about you that way, my stomach just goes to pumpkin." I don't know exactly what that meant, but in his mind, his compliment means that he just gets butterflies when they talk about me and my success.
And those are like the only 2 compliments?
Yep. And the only time he ever said "I love you" is after triple bypass heart surgery. I walked in and I said, "Daddy, I got to get on the bus. I got to go to Chattanooga, play there tomorrow night." And he said, "Okay, I love you." And we went, "Oh, it's the drugs."
Hey, Perry, I'm so sorry.
Okay,
We're
we
running
should stop.
over.
Okay. So, all right, so, is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover?
Oh my gosh, you have covered more than I ever thought we would have today. Thank you so much.
Well, I mean,
Can y'all think of anything?
does anybody need anything before we wrap? Did you want to do anything talk about your charities or anything like that? I mean, I don't, it's up to you.
Nope,
Okay.
nope, I'm good. Thank you.
And your team's okay, and you guys have everything, okay, good. Unbelievably great.
Oh, it was fun.
Pleasure.
You are so much fun to visit with. It's just like having a